There's one marketplace that's the most competitive marketplace in the world for earning attention. This is the Mac Daddy. This is the hardest place in the world to earn those first 9 seconds. Online dating. Raise your hand if you've ever tried online dating. Really? Huh. How statistically unusual. I think about 20% of you are lying. So when I was researching how people pay attention to certain people, I opened up an online dating account because I wanted to know what types of messages become most fascinating. So I started a fake account and dialed in, and here's what I got. Let's get it on. Hey, hottie, take a chance. Get him while it's hot. We'll see. Now, for those of you for whom English is not your first language, turn to the person next to you and have them describe "let's get it on" as an American colloquialism. It's an invitation of sorts. So as underwhelmed as I was by these messages that came into my inbox, there's one that I want to show you, and it's the one in the upper corner. He just said hi. That was his online dating tagline. We'll call him Ed. Now, Ed could be the perfect match. Ed could be the perfect match for a girl here on the site. But if he fails to fascinate her and she goes on to the next profile, then he's lost, because he's dealing in a very competitive environment. Ed is competing against a lot of other guys who are also competing for her attention. A lot of other guys. Now, Ed is a good-looking guy, but, it's not necessarily like he's the hottest guy on the site. If you're the hottest guy on the site, you can afford to be boring. But most of us don't have that luxury. So how can we communicate and connect? I've spent the last 10 years studying how your personality is most likely to connect and communicate with the people that you're talking to. Whether you're talking to a preferred customer or a prospective team member, how can you communicate in a way that feels natural and authentic to you, but is most likely to hold their attention, so that you can build that relationship, so that you can impress them with the products and ideas that you want to communicate? And what I found in my research working with companies like AT&T, GE, Cisco, after studying 500,000 people and the communication patterns inside of how they speak every day, we found that the people that communicate most effectively and most influentially have certain traits in common. There's not one personality type that wins, but there are certain qualities that tend to break through. One of them is that people who have very effective communication have some type of a specific benefit, a specialty in their personality, and they know how to use it. Now, your personality already has a specialty. I want you to think about your favorite restaurant. They might have a specialty dessert or a specialty entree. What's your specialty? You already have it. The question is just, have you identified it and are you using it? The second thing that high performers do is that they're worth more than they're being paid. If you're only worth what you're being paid, you're not adding value. You're just doing your job. Third thing is that they over-deliver in one specific area. They choose to have one particular area in which they're most likely to be able to over-deliver and impress the person that they're talking to. So they don't try to be great at everything. They don't try to be all things to all people. Instead, they hone in and they focus. And finally, they don't have to compete on the basis of price, because what they're doing is not a commodity. They're more likely to have loyalty because it's not just about the product, it's also about the relationship. So when you fascinate your listener, you build a bond that cannot be broken because you're connected in a way. So here's what the high performers do. They add distinct value in some way. In other words, they don't just try to follow the script. They add some element of their personality. Your personality has two different sides. There's the most valuable you, and then there's the least valuable you. The least valuable you are those times in work when you feel like you're stuck in quicksand. You're exhausted by a certain task, a certain assignment. The least valuable you is when you are least likely to contribute at the highest level. And then you have the most valuable you, and the most valuable you is precious and rare. It's when you hone in on those certain qualities that are most likely to be able to attract exactly the right people to you and to make sure that you're contributing in some specific way. Now, to do this, remember, the greatest value that you can add is to become more of yourself. It's not about changing who you are. It's about becoming more of who you are, who you really are, who you are underneath all those layers. The parts of you that make people fall in love with you professionally and personally. It's why people want to champion for you and join you and buy from you and stay with you and refer you. And I have a name for this part of you. This is called your fascination advantage. Your fascination advantage is the way in which your personality is most likely to add distinct value. Remember the high performers, they specialize in one particular area. Your personality already has a specialty. It's your fascination advantage. Let me describe what I mean by fascination. Fascination is an intense focus. It's a neurological state of focus. And when you fascinate somebody, they're only thinking about you and your message in that moment. They're not thinking about their iPhone. They're not thinking about what they're going to feed their kids for dinner. They're just focused on you. And neurologically, their brains are opening up in this state of fascination, opening up in a state of relaxed happiness and flow. They feel comfortable with you. They feel confident in you. They're not doubting. They don't feel fear. They don't feel mistrust. They feel totally connected to you. And neurologists say that the state of fascination looks in an MRI like somebody who's falling in love. Barriers fall away. You cease to be cynical and skeptical, and you just focus in that moment on the connection. Imagine if you could do this every time you're communicating about the product, every time you talk about Rodan and Fields, every time you're sharing the gospel. What if you could get people into this state of fascination so that it feels like you're creating a real connection instead of doing a sales pitch? Raise your hand if you'd like that. I want you to think about getting people to fall in love with you and with Rodan and Fields. Don't just get them to pay attention. Don't just get them to buy. Get them to fall in love. Now, earlier we were talking about a guy named Ed who only said hi. Well, let's imagine what we could say in his profile that would be a little bit more fascinating, shall we? Imagine if his profile said this: I have a tan, all my teeth, and I can easily see my belly button. I read books without pictures, I watch movies with dialogue, and I don't consider KFC an ethnic food. I'm looking for a girl who appreciates the finer things in life, but is willing to settle for me. That would be a little more fascinating, right? Well, I have a confession to make. I wasn't researching. I was searching. And Ed's profile never said hi. I read exactly what you read right here. Would you like to see how that marketing campaign worked out when he found those perfect words? So get your clients to fall in love with you and with Rodan and Fields. The greatest value that you can add is to become more of yourself. So power personalities, give me a woo! Thank you for your confidence. Passion personalities, thank you for your relationship. Mystique personalities, thank you for listening and for questions. Prestige personalities, thank you for excellence. Alert personalities, thank you for keeping up safe with details. Innovation personalities, thank you for creativity.
trust personalities, thank you for stability, and thank you, Rodan and Fields.